All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. So my name's Otis Landerholm, and today I want to talk about how to file for citizenship in 2024. And 2024 is a year of a federal election in the United States, and it's going to be a divisive federal election. And my goal, because of that, maybe because of that, and maybe because I just believe in citizenship that much, but it's like my goal is to help as many immigrants become U.S. citizens as possible in the year 2024. All right? And so thank you for being here. I want to share my screen. I want to show you how I would file the N-400, which is the application for U.S. citizenship. First of all, let me pull up a couple of things here as I'm thinking about it. First, I want to just look briefly at our guide for citizenship, just to make sure that you are fully aware of who should file and who shouldn't for U.S. citizenship. There are certain situations where it's not recommendable to actually file the case. So here we go. Naturalization legal eligibility, and this is just from my office, okay? First, you have to be a lawful permanent resident, and that means that your green card was lawfully gotten, all right? That you got your green card and it was done correctly, and there was no fraud in the green card application, there was no problems with the green card application. You got your green card. You must have your green card for 5 years, typically. Or you can apply for citizenship after 3 years if you got it through marriage, if you're living in marital union with a United States citizen. Okay? Second requirement is you got to be 18. Third requirement is you have to be a person of quote-unquote good moral character, which means you're not deportable. It means that you don't have certain arrests, certain crimes, you've paid your taxes, you don't owe certain debts to the federal government, or you're paying alimony, child support if you have any, all right, any court-mandated payment obligations. There are certain residency requirements. Basically, you can't have left the U.S. for long periods of time with your green card. If you've left the U.S. for periods longer than 180 days, talk to your lawyer first to make sure that you are good. You must take and pass all 3 exams. There's the English exam, basic English. There's the written English exam. And then there's the exam regarding U.S. history and civics, U.S. history and government, and a few other stuff. There's 100 questions to study up on, and you've got to get 6 right out of the 10 that they will ask you. So there's 100 questions total. They'll ask you 10. You've got to get 6 right out of the 10. And finally, you have to be willing to swear loyalty to the United States. That's the legal eligibility, all right? So if you have any doubts, any questions regarding your legal eligibility, then, talk it over with a lawyer. The English exam, there are exceptions to that. For example, if you're over 50 and you've had a green card for over 20 years, or if you're over 55 and you've had a green card for 15 years, there are exceptions. You could do it in your own language. All right, so that being said, not U visas, no. Okay, let me go back to the internet. Okay, that being said, let's look at the N-400, and I want to show you how I would complete the N-400. And there's, lots of information online, and so, and they do allow for online filings. I still don't recommend the online filing myself. When we file this on behalf of our clients, we always do it the written. We send it in, right? So we can attach all of the evidence. So we make sure nothing gets lost. So we have tracking information. So it's a smoother process. Fewer documents get. How can I say this? The government is very, very used to receiving evidence and applications through mail. And so because the government is used to processing things like that. They scan everything, they send receipts, etc. I still do it that way. I recommend doing it that way. And once the government is like really, really good at processing it, where we have fewer errors with the online system, then that can, we look forward to that day, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the instructions, and I'm going to pull up the document checklist. I'm just going through uscis.gov, clicking where it says Forms and Downloads. All right, document checklist. So I'm going to start with the N400 itself. As you go through the N400, you want to refer to the instructions, and they talk about all of the legal eligibility requirements that I've already gone over, exceptions from the English test, etc., who should not file, all right, and biometric services appointments, stuff like that, how to fill out the N400, type or print legibly in black ink, and all of these instructions. And so you want to, when you have doubts, you can go through. The form is divided into 18 parts. Part 1, they explain what to say in the different parts of the form. All right. So for your A number, put it in exactly as it appears on your green card, whatever your A number is. Then you are at least 18 years of age, and so here's where you put whether you're applying under the 5-year rule, all right, or the 3-year rule if you've been living in marital union with a U.S. citizen spouse, all right. And if there is military type stuff, you could do it through one of the other categories below. But typically, our clients are typically in either A or B. So imagine I've got a green card, and imagine I'm applying under the 5-year rule. Well, here, okay, let's put our current legal name. So here, my last name is Landerholm. My first name is Otis. I always put last name in capital, and then first and middle in kind of normal. My name exactly as appears on my green card, same. Sometimes there's a legal name change that happens. If you got married later or something like that, you might have changed your legal name, and so you want to put whatever. If there's a difference, you'll need to explain that. Okay. Have you used other names? So here I don't have any. So I might write none, or I might just say leave it blank. It says only if applicable. So if it's not applicable, you don't have to put anything. Name change optional. So I really don't recommend filing a name change inside of an N400 application. It used to be a smoother process to do that. I don't trust the legality of using the N400 as a name change mechanism. If you are wanting to change your name legally, my best advice would be to either wait until the whole citizenship case is done and then do the name change, or wait until the whole name change process is done and then apply for citizenship. And the reason I say that is because you want to have your passport and your driver's license and all of these things to match your name. Otherwise, it causes confusion everywhere. And so it's like, gosh, get that name change done first is often the best way to do it, so that your citizenship certificate shows your new legal name, all right, if you're going to do that. All right, so but assuming there's no legal name change, let's see, would you like to legally change your name? I'm going to say no. If you typed yes, what would your new legal name want to be? I don't recommend doing this. Put your social security number in. Put your gender. Put your date of birth. Date you became a lawful permanent resident. This date is on your green card. If I were to look, green card image. Yep. So just as a sample, it says resident since, all right, on your green card right there. This is just a sample, right? But 10/25 of 2020. So good, we'll go with that. 10/25 of 2020. Well, I guess if I'm going to file for citizenship in 2024 under the 5-year rule, I'd better be 2019. Let me do it as January 25th of 2019. That way in January 25th of 2024, I'll have the 5 years, and legally I can file up to 90 days before that. So I'd be good to file anytime. Country of birth, I'll say Sweden. Country of nationality, Sweden. You know, obviously do whatever it is for you. Do you have a physical or developmental disability, mental impairment that prevents you from demonstrating your knowledge and understanding of the English language or civics requirements? So, how can I say this? Certain people have certain disabilities, right? Maybe learning disabilities, etc., where they simply cannot learn and memorize the questions involved, or they cannot, like, maybe they're mentally disabled in some way, right? If that's their situation, there is a medical exam that they could go through where they have a signed certification by a civil surgeon, we call it, who can verify that, yes, indeed, this person has a mental disability, that they cannot, a developmental disability or mental impairment that prevents them from demonstrating their knowledge, so they can be exempt from the tests. If you're going to go through that process, I highly recommend having a lawyer help you. Otherwise, if you're listening to me right now, and if you're understanding what I'm saying, then 90% of the time, 99% of the time, the answer to that question will be no. Okay? Exemptions from the English language test. All right, so if you're 50 years old and you have 20 years with your green card, then you could request an exemption from the English test. Otherwise, I'd say typically the answer is no. If you're 55 years old and you've had at least 15 years with your green card, you could request an exemption. Otherwise, the answer is no. If you're 65 and you've had 20 years, then you can have a simplified version where you just study the simplest of the civics tests. But otherwise, the answer is no. Read the information on the N400 before cleaning this part. Accommodations for individuals with disabilities and impairments. Are you requesting an accommodation because of your disabilities or impairments? You know, if you, for example, are deaf or hard of hearing, you could request an American Sign Language interpreter. If you're blind or have low vision, you could request accommodations for that. If you have any other type of disability, for example, using a wheelchair, they will. Our experience, I practice out of the San Francisco field office most regularly. We have cases in other areas throughout the country also, but most of the time the government's pretty good at accommodating these types of physical disabilities to help you get into the building, help you get in front of the officer, etc. If that's your situation, request the accommodation that you need. If it's not, just say no. For me, I would say no there, okay? So information to contact you, phone number, 555-555-5555, which of course, they don't want the dashes. 555-555-5555, which of course is not my phone number, but whatever, I'll put it there. Email address, if any, fill in this information, all right? Fill it in with your honest and accurate information so they can contact you if need be. Information about your residence. So here they ask a lot of information. They ask for every location you've lived in the past 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, apartment number 12, whatever it is. Oops, what just happened? For whatever reason, whenever there's a glitch in the version of the PDF that you're working with, either download it onto Adobe or print it out and just handwrite it in. All right? I'm sorry that happens sometimes, but it does happen sometimes. So here I'll say Oakland County, Alameda County, State, California, 94606. Province or region, foreign addresses only. I don't need to fill that in. For me, I've been living there since May 1st of 2017. So that's more than 5 years. So that's the only address I need. Currently address only if different from above. Well, for me, it's the same as above. If it's different, though, write in your mailing address and write in a second, third, fourth mailing or fourth physical address if you've lived in different places for the last 5 years. And if you need more, you can go to the very end of the form. I'm on page 4 right now. You can go to the very end of the form. I think they have an extra additional information page. Nope, they do not have an additional information page. This is one of the only forms where they don't. So what to do, if you have additional addresses, this is what you do. Don't panic, don't panic. You open up a Word document. You say additional information. And you can say, part, where is it? Addresses is what we're looking at. Say part 5. Part 5, D, you can, so it ended on E, you can add F. You know, I have 2 additional addresses. And then you could say F, and you could write out, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 North Street with a full address. And then you could do G, 5, 6, 7, 8 South Street, or whatever, South Avenue, with the full address there. And you can start keeping note for where there is other information, okay? So here, if neither one of your parents is a U.S. citizen, skip this part and go to 7. All right, so for me, I'm just going to say, no, my parents were not, neither of them are U.S. citizens. I'm the first person in my family with a green card. And then I can skip everything in these sections. If your parents are U.S. citizens, then you'll want to answer part 6. And you'll want to say, okay, were your parents married before your 18th birthday? Yes or no? Is your mother a U.S. citizen? Yes or no? Her legal name, her A number if she has one. Same information about your father, all right? And the reason they ask for that is if they want to do an analysis as to whether or not you might already be a U.S. citizen, all right? Part 7 is all your biographic information, so ethnicity, Hispanic Latino, not Hispanic Latino. For me, I'm a white guy. I'm 6'1". Sometimes I wish I were Latino. You know, I love people from all parts of the world. I weigh 172 pounds right now. Eye color brown, hair color brown. You know, my hair's brown, right? Okay. So here it asks for addresses for your work for the last 5 years. Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And with our address, your occupation, legal, all right? So you want to do that every place that you've worked for the last 5 years. They only give you 3 here. So if you have more than that, then in your additional information, you would say Part 8, employment history, sorry. I have 1 additional place of employment. And so you might say 1, 2, 3. So this would be 4. And then you would write in, address, town, etc., your occupation, fill in all the information there. Okay, so then there's that. Now it says how many days total did you spend outside the United States during the last 5 years? So here it asks for all trips, all right, outside the United States. And so how many trips did you have? So date I left the U.S. This can be tedious if you're a frequent traveler, but you want to look in your passport. You want to look at your plane tickets. You want to look at every, I left on the 20th of December of 2019, and I returned on January 3rd of 2020, and it was less than 6 months, and I went to Sweden, and I was outside the U.S. for how many days is that? So one thing that I like to do is do a date calculator, if I could spell it right. So here, December, whoops, what did I just do? Sorry. December 20th, 2019. We're gonna count the days to January 3rd of 2020, and we're going to calculate the duration, 14 days. All right. So it just makes it easy. I like to do that so I'm not relying on my own counting. Sometimes it's simpler to do it that way. And you fill that in. So I'm just going to do that one for simplicity's sake. We'll say that's one trip outside the U.S., and we'll say the total days was 14. But of course, you want to calculate all of the days. And again, if you have more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you have more than 6, then you would say Part 9 on your additional information. Part 9, I have additional trips outside the U.S. as follows, something like that, and then you'd add whatever additional trips you have, calculate the total, etc. All right. Information about your marital history, Part 10. Single, never married. I am married. If you're married, is your spouse a member of the armed forces? No. Of course, it's put yes if it is. How many times have you been married? I've been married once. Current spouse's legal name. Her name is Landerholm. Wendy. Current spouse's previous legal name. Well, I won't. Let's say Smith. Wendy, which is not what her previous name was, but that's okay. Other names used by current spouse, yeah, that's not applicable, but you could imagine that it might be, right, if she had changed her name legally at some point. Her date of birth, let's say it's December 12th of 1976, which is not what it is, but that's okay. Date you entered into the marriage. When did we get married? It was July 11th of 2009. All right, that's actually the truth. All right, just for fun. Let's see. Current spouse's present home address. So here I would just list it exactly as my address above. Apartment number, whatever it is, Oakland. County. It's weird that they asked for county. 94606. Okay, current spouses or current employer. Well, yeah, you fill in that information for your spouse. Is your current spouse a U.S. citizen? Yes, she is. If your current spouse is a citizen, complete the following information. She got it through other. She became a citizen, put in the date, whatever it was, January 1st of 2001, whatever it was. If your current spouse is not a U.S. citizen, complete the following information. For me, this is irrelevant because she is a citizen, but if she wasn't, right, you would fill in this information with her A number, lawful permanent residence, other. Some people are afraid, like if their spouse is not yet documented, you could say other and then say no lawful status. Right? There's no problem with doing that, especially if your plan after becoming a citizen is to fix your spouse's citizenship, right, or to use your citizenship to apply for your spouse's adjustment of status. And so that's very, very common, right? My office would love to help you with that type of case. We love winning cases like that. So anyway, it's not anything to worry about. You just want to be methodic, be accurate, be honest, be truthful in how you're putting the information. Okay? How many times has your current spouse been married, including annulled marriages, etc.? So this is like, okay, your spouse, if she was married in the past, she or he were married in the past, you would want to include that information. So maybe she, this isn't accurate, but it's not true for me, but imagine she had a prior husband before being married to me, well then I would put 2 there, okay? So if she had more than one previous marriage, provide that information. Legal name of my current spouse's prior spouse, so I would put that person's name. Maybe it was Smith, Roger, and maybe the prior spouse, my current spouse's prior spouse was a U.S. citizen. Roger Smith was a U.S. citizen. And that person, Roger Smith, was born January 1st of 1969. I don't know. 1979 might be more closer to accurate. Anyway, this is all made up at this point. Anyway, fill in each of these information. My current spouse's date of marriage with my prior spouse. My current spouse's marriage ended with her prior spouse on that date. Was it through annulment or divorce or a spouse deceased or some other way? If you were married before, put your prior spouse's name, which I was not married before, so I'm going to leave this blank, but you would want to fill this in carefully. And if you have prior marital history, same thing. You would want to put all of that information in the additional information Word document if you need it, right? So there's that. Information about your children. Indicate, how many children you have. I have 2. Put their name, given name, middle name. A number, if any. If they were born in the U.S., don't worry about it. Date of birth, country of birth. Also, if they just simply don't have an A number, or if you don't know what it is, just don't. It's better to not list anything than to put something that's inaccurate. Put their date of birth, put their country of birth. Okay? Current address. What's their relationship to you? Is it a biological child, a stepchild, legally adopted child, etc.? So imagine that your spouse had a child before you married her. Well, now that child is your stepchild. So you would definitely want to include them. All children related to you, even stepchildren through past marriages, right? You would want to include them on this because you don't want the government to say you lied when you filled out this form. If there's more than 4, same thing with the additional information sheet. You could add it as part 11. Part 11, additional children. And then you would want to include all of the information that they're asking for. Name, A number, date of birth, country of birth, and address. Okay, and relationship. Okay. Now they start asking you lots of different questions. Have you ever claimed to be a U.S. citizen? Hopefully the answer is no. Have you ever registered to vote in any federal, state, or local election? Hopefully the answer is no. Have you ever actually voted? Have you ever had hereditary title? Typically the answer to these questions are no. If you answered yes, so you don't even have to answer that one. Have you ever been declared legally incompetent? The answer hopefully to that is no. Do you owe any federal, state, or overdue taxes? Hopefully the answer is no. Did you ever not file federal taxes as a green card holder? Have you ever called yourself a non-U.S. resident? Hopefully the answer is no. Have you ever been a member involved in or associated with any funds, club, party, group. Here, say what is accurate, right? It's not a problem if you've been members of groups. You could say, I don't know, United Methodist Church. Purpose of the group, religious / spiritual, just that. Dates, I don't know. I'm just making this up. All right. There's no harm in including that you've been a member of or associated with other organizations if it's accurate. And if it's not accurate, then you don't want to list it. Okay? But they are asking, and the things that do cause problems are more the things down here, right? Have you ever been a member of or in any way associated with, directly or indirectly, with the Communist Party? Hopefully the answer is no. Any other totalitarian party? Hopefully the answer is no. A terrorist organization? Hopefully the answer is no. Communist Party, if you are from China, the People's Republic of China, and if you've been associated with in any way the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China or of other formerly or current communist countries, then you might need a waiver, all right? And there are waivers available. It doesn't cause it doesn't make you, doesn't make your case hopeless. You just want to talk it over with a lawyer. There's things that you need to do. If you have been a member of a terrorist organization, that's a different story, all right? You're not going to want to file this application, all right? It's going to cause problems. So talk to a lawyer. It's going to be difficult. Have you ever advocated directly or indirectly the overthrow of any government by force or violence? Hopefully the answer to that question is no. Have you ever persecuted others because of their race, religion? Hopefully the answer to that is no. Have you ever participated in the Nazi government of Germany or had any Nazi involvement at all? Hopefully the answer is no. Have you ever been involved with genocide, torture, killing, hurting? Yeah, hopefully all of this is no. Have you ever been involved in military stuff? So, if you were actually in a military of your country, you'll need to show information about what involvement you had there, all right? For me, the accurate thing is no, I don't have any weapons training, I don't have anything related to any of this. But if you have this, right, you'll need to explain what it is. It doesn't automatically cause a problem unless it's like a terrorist group, right? Have you ever been a worker, volunteer, soldier in any way in any prison, jail, prison camp, detention facility, labor camp, things of that nature? Hopefully the answer is no. Anyway, really go through every single one of these questions. Were you ever part of any group that used a weapon against any person? Hopefully the answer is no. Have you ever sold or provided weapons or help another person sell, give, or provide weapons? Hopefully the answer is no. Did you ever receive any type of military or weapons training? No. Did you ever recruit childhood soldiers? No. Ever use a person under the age of 15 to do anything that helped or supported people in combat? Hopefully the answer is no. Okay? All the next ones are related to arrests, all right? Go through them one at a time, all right? If you have ever been, I don't know, what can I say about this first one? Have you ever committed, committed, or attempted to commit any crime or offense for which you were not arrested? I could go on and on about this question, all right? Oh, that one time I stole $20 from my aunt when I was 19 years old, and I'm really sorry, but I was never arrested for it. She never knew, whatever. Do you have to say yes here? No, you don't, all right? Here's the way it works. The U.S. Constitution gives everybody the due process clause, right? It gives you the presumption of innocence. If you haven't been arrested, right, then do not admit to committing a crime, ever, right? You don't have to admit that. You are presumed innocent. So Anyway, the answer to number 22 is almost always no. The only time where you would ever check yes to this question is where you were actually convicted of a crime, but you weren't ever arrested for it. So imagine you were like ticketed or something, right? And then convicted of a crime, but they never actually took you downtown and arrested you. Anyway, talk to a lawyer if you have any questions about any of these, all right? And really, if you have an arrest history, I highly recommend you talk to a lawyer and have a lawyer really represent you throughout this process and really advise you on how to fill out this paperwork properly so that you don't like do something that's unwise for your case, all right? And so I'm going to kind of leave it at that with all of these questions, but go through them line by line. These are the good moral character questions. So have you ever made any misrepresentation, for example? Have you ever been a habitual drunkard, for example? Each of these things have specific definitions for immigration law. And if you have questions about them, talk them over with a lawyer. Have you ever been in removal proceedings or actually deported from the U.S.? So some people, you might have a green card, but you might have been in deportation proceedings in the past. And so you'd want to check yes there if that was the case. And it doesn't cause a problem for your case, but you want to be honest in how you're filling out everything. All right? And so anyway, that's true for every single one of these questions. Go through them all. Go through them carefully. These final questions. Okay, here, are you a male who were in the U.S. between your 18th and 26th birthdays? If so, then when did you register for selective service? So let's talk about that. The selective service, it's like part of the draft, part of the, you have to click this. That gives you a status information letter. Who is exempt from registration? Wait, did I click the right one? Register. Okay. Do you see this button up here? So just type in selective service system, all right? Register or verify registration. If you click register, it asks you, men 26 and older, you don't have to. Verify registration, register with a foreign address, transgender, no social security number. So put in your information here, go through the process, and click submit registration. Once you've done that, then you can go click on verify registration, and you can put in your name, social, and date of birth, click that you're not a robot, and then you can get the information there. But anyway, you have to do that if you are between 18 and 26. So just to give you a heads up there. These last ones, you want to say yes to them. All right. Do you support the Constitution? Yes. Are you willing to take the oath of allegiance? Yes, yes, yes. Are you willing to bear arms on behalf of the United States if necessary? Yes. Here it's like, okay, can you read and understand English? If so, say yes. If not, use an interpreter. And the interpreter, you'll need to fill in their information in Part 14. So I'm going to say yes, it's in English. And at my request, to prepare in Part 15. So that's if you're working with a lawyer or if somebody else is preparing it for you. And so this is what we do if you're working with a lawyer. If you're doing it on your own, leave that blank. All right? Here is where you will sign and date it. All right? Here's where your interpreter will put their information in. When they put their information in, it should populate up here. Okay? So then right there, and the interpreter would sign and date, and then the preparer would fill in their information if you're working with a lawyer, for example, and they would say that they are a lawyer and that their representation extends beyond this case, right? If you're working for the full thing, the preparer would then sign and date, and then everything else would happen at the interview, and you'd take the oath at the interview. That's how you fill out the N-400, everybody. Sorry that was long-winded. I hope that it was useful. I hope it was helpful. I wish you the very best of luck with your citizenship application. If my office can help you in any way, we want to help you to become a U.S. citizen of the United States or a citizen of the United States. Best of luck with your case. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.